They will make cemetery their cathedrals, and your cities will be your tomb. Now, this tagline has just the right amount of foreboding wordplay and 80s cheese to bring about such a classic Italian movie, Demons. Demons was released in 1985, directed by Lamberto Bava and produced by Dario Argento, both of whom contributed to the script. Now, Lamberto Bava, this is probably his most famous film, but he's also, of note, the son of Mario Bava, who is a great Italian filmmaker with such classics as Blood and Black Lace, Black Sabbath, and A Bay of Blood. Now, Dario Argento, the producer, is a legend in his own right. He is a director of such huge films as The Bird Was a Crystal Plumage, The Cat o' Nine Tails, and Suspiria, among so many other classics. The film kicks off with our heroine Cheryl thinks she's being chased by a man in a silver mask at a subway station, only to find out he's just in character passing out tickets to a local screening. Now, right off the bat, you find the biggest strength of this movie, which is its soundtrack. The score was done by Claudio Simonetti of Goblin fame, and includes songs from bands such as Saxon, Accept, Motley Crue, and Billy Idol. Now, the combination of Simonetti's score, along with these heavy metal classics, really creates an unsettling atmosphere of high energy. Cheryl meets up with her friend and decide to go to the cinema, where they meet up with our hero of the story, George, along with his best friend. Now, here we're introduced to all the other moviegoers, including a scene stealer, Tony the Pimp. Now, Tony the Pimp is easily the coolest and most fun character in the movie, and my only complaint about him is that he probably dies too early. He should have been fighting right alongside our heroes until the very end before he's off. Now, inside the cinema lobby is a baffling display of a mannequin on top of a motorcycle, brandishing a katana, and holding a metal demon mask. And you know right off the bat that every one of those random props will come into play in this movie one way or another. Now, one of the Tony the Pimp's ladies accidentally puts on the demon mask and cuts herself, which unwittingly puts the rest of the movie into motion. The movie they are all here to see is about a bunch of random teenagers stumbling across the grave of Notre Dame and finding the metal demon mask. Now, it was in the movie, they put on the mask, someone cuts their cheek, and they become a demon. Naturally, this is exactly what plays out in the real world, where one of the ladies goes to the bathroom because they're having a pulsating wound and they turn into a demon. Now, I would like to make a quick side note about the film within a film. One of the original producers wanted to actually use old Lucio Fulci movies as this film, but this would have just been to cut costs and was not really a good creative decision, because making it actually its own film that mirrors what's happening in their movie was definitely the right call. Now, it's important to note that the acting and even a dialogue is very stilted and kind of bad in this film as in a film, which kind of sets up a comedic tone that pervades like the rest of the movie. One other thing I think is important to note is that in the real world, it never quite states why there's demons, just that there are demons. So there's a little bit of that Notre Dame connection if you take the film as in a film as being serious, but ultimately it doesn't quite give a backstory, which is good. It's kind of along the lines of the Venus probe from Night of the Living Dead. Like, we don't really want a backstory, we just want to see demons ripping people apart. And this movie delivers on that pretty well. We're introduced to our first demon at about 24 minutes in, and at that point they just never let up. We're introduced to pulsating wounds, green pus leaking out of torn skin, two people are kissing and get strangled to death with a rope at the exact same time. There's like a two-finger eye gouging. There's a one-handed scalping. There's even like a little demon that pops out of our main character's back for some reason. Honestly, the gooey and gory special effects is a highlight of the movie, and you can tell they're just having fun with it. It really feels like this whole movie at this point is just them trying to stitch a bunch of set pieces of demons tearing people apart very loosely together. Now, once everything hits the fan and the movie patrons realize that they can't leave, that's when they begin their desperate attempts to stay alive. Now, this includes storming the projection room to turn off the movie in hopes that it would stop the demons from coming out, along with trying to barricade themselves in the top balcony, along with breaking down walls, trying to get to adjacent buildings to escape. All these are futile attempts, though. They're just, like I said before, set pieces to stitch together all of these demons tearing people apart. Now we're introduced to one of the best elements of the demons themselves, and that's if they scratch you, you will become a demon eventually. Now, this makes it so a lot of main characters who get scratched come back during the finale or a little beforehand as demons. And it also kind of gives this really foreboding atmosphere that it's a very hopeless and bleak outlook. Now, as you can probably tell, I love this movie. I love it so much that after watching Demons one time, I decided, like, hey, let's do an entire yearly review series about it. I think it is one of the best 80s horror movies that we have around, and the special effects are just top-notch. And even if it's not, like, the best 80s horror movie out there, I would say it's definitely one of the most fun you can possibly watch. My only complaint is that in the middle of the movie, a bunch of, like, punks show up outside of the cinema and break in, only to be killed by demons. It kind of stops the movie dead in its tracks and destroys any momentum going on. I understand why they did it, because it helps set up the ending, but still, I think it's done in a pretty lame way. So this next part will actually be a spoiler, so just go ahead and turn this review off now if you don't want to know what happens at the end. But let me just tell you that even if you know exactly what happens at the end, there's nothing to quite prepare you for the pure insanity happening on the screen. Now, it starts with our man George. He grabs that katana, he hops on that motorcycle, and just rides around the cinema, chopping off demon heads, stabbing them, blood flying everywhere. And you think that might be where the insanity stops. But no, a helicopter crashes through the ceiling. Yep, so after he turns on the helicopter blades to partially decapitate some more demons, he grabs a grappling hook and shoots it out of the hole made by the helicopter, and they escape the cinema. Now, Cheryl is with him when they escape, but they meet up with a man in the silver mask, who is promptly impaled by the grappling hook and his face shoved right into some rebar. So now it looks like George and Cheryl have finally escaped. But not quite, because they have just entered an entire hellscape of demons running around the city. It has been overrun by demons after one of the demons escaped when the punks entered, and everything has just gone to hell. So after traversing this demon necropolis for a little while, eventually they meet up with a family driving in a Jeep. Now these people seem to like totally be ready to kill these demons. Like they were asking for this like apocalypse to happen because they are ready to go. George and Cheryl hop on there and they decide to start driving off to the countryside where hopefully it's demon free. Now, you think that's where the movie ends, but this is Demons, so that's not where the movie ends. No, the credits start to roll as we zoom in on Cheryl's bite that's festering on her neck. And you're like, oh, that's a really cool foreboding ending. Like, you can tell that something's going to go down, but they're not going to show it. But no, they're going to show it, because immediately Cheryl turns into a demon, and then the kid in the family just like shoots her dead and she falls off the Jeep. And then the movie ends. And I would not have wanted this movie to end any other way. It was the perfect ending to a dumb, fun 80s gore movie. And I gotta say, like, George is taking this entire ending in his stride. A helicopter crashes out of nowhere, and a 10-year-old shoots his demon crush dead, and he just rolls the punches. It's like, he don't care. George is a man of action, not the past. This film really sets up a great demon-infested world for them to explore in sequels. But sadly, as you'll find out in Demons 2, that's not exactly the direction they take. But that's a complaint for next month. Now, there's not much else I can say besides that I absolutely love this movie, and if you're a fan of 80s horror or Italian cinema, it's a must-see. Personally, I think Demons is a great concept that could do very well if remade today, as long as they kept the gritty and heavy metal aesthetic of the original. At the very least, the original will get like more notice by the mainstream. Alright, so that kind of like concludes our Demons review. Tune in 1 month where we will review the aptly named Demons 2.